What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and we have a bunch of news updates from a variety of different things. Stuff that I haven't covered that's been going on for a little bit, and some stuff that just released today. And it seems like a lot of news is coming out of the world of Dungeons & Dragons very quickly. We had the entire roadmap released yesterday. Now we have Humblewood showing up on D&D Beyond. We'll talk about that. Some of you were nice enough to send me over the leaked images for the D&D Lego set, which does appear, from what a lot of you are saying and more, knowledgeable about the Lego scene than I am, that it does appear to be the kind of updated version of the Ideas set, not something wholly new. We have the Hasbro fourth quarter earnings report, and then I also wanted to comment on the cancellation of the Dragonlance live action project that Joe Manganiello was working on. So let's start with Humblewood. By the way, if you like what I do here, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. It's a little click for you. It does a lot for me. Here is the Humblewood setting. So it says right here, this was a couple hours ago, right on D&D Beyond's main site. The Humblewood campaign setting arrives to D&D Beyond. See what's inside. The Humblewood campaign setting is now on D&D Beyond and available for 20% off from the folks at Hit Point Press. So again, it looks like it is also fully rolled out in the character creator as well, if that's something that you're looking to do. But it says, within the pages of the Humblewood campaign setting, you'll find an adventure for players 1st to 5th level. It will take you from the Sleepy Meadow Fen to the Scorched Grove. You'll also find all the information needed to run the setting at your table, so you can write your own Humblewood campaign. Players will discover a plethora of new options, including unique species, subclasses, backgrounds, feats, and spells. Explore the canopies as the bird like Corvum or Gallus, or traverse the between giant roots as the ground-dwelling hedge or Mapak. It says Dungeon Master's tools also in this book, a bestiary of over 50 monsters and NPCs, tools for turning existing D&D monsters into birdfolk or humblefolk, a selection of Humblewood-themed magic items, random encounter, and discovery tables as well. Here's again showing off some of the different options here for players. Choose from 5 birdfolk species and 5 humblefolk species, which have multiple subspecies. Create unique adventures from 4 brand new subclasses: the College of the Road for the Bard, Community and Night Domains for the Cleric, and the Scofflaw for the Fighter. Pick from a selection of almost a dozen new spells, such as Stellar Bodies, Elevated Sight, or Shape Plants. Round out your Humblewood character with 3 new backgrounds, like the Bandit Defector, and specialize your character with 7 feats, like Perfect Landing, which always lets you land on your feet and reduce any damage you take from falling. What's also, and we'll take a look here at the player options in just a sec, but what's pretty interesting is this is the continued rollout of third-party content from major third-party developers in the D&D 5e space to D&D Beyond. We saw earlier in the year the kind of rollout of the Tal'Dorei campaign setting on here, again, meaning Critical Role. Again, they did kind of have stuff, collaborations on there already. We now saw, just at the end, December of last year, the Dungeon Dudes rolling out their content. So that's Dungeon Dudes and Ghostfire Gaming, rather, showing their stuff on D&D Beyond. And we're now seeing Humblewood, one of a very popular campaign setting and book from the folks over at Hit Point Press. So we are seeing a bunch of third-party releases coming to D&D Beyond. Now, I'd say that's a good thing, right? We don't know behind the scenes what goes on as far as licensing goes between the folks at the various different, who's working with WotC. If I'm able to talk to folks and get information and they're allowed to speak about it, I definitely will make videos. I do know folks at Ghostfire Gaming, the Dungeon Dudes, I do know folks at Hit Point Press as well, so maybe we can get some more information, but I'll leave this up to you. Do you have any questions? If that conversation were to happen and I was able to either bring them on for an interview or just make comments based on statements from them, what would you want to know? I think probably one of the biggest things a lot of people want to know is who retains the rights. Like, did you sacrifice the rights to your original content and now it's owned by WotC, or are you still in charge of that content? I believe, speaking with the Dungeon Dudes at PAX Unplugged, they do still own all of their own content. It's not owned by WotC. That's kind of one of the things we've seen with like the DMs Guild, right? You put something up on the DMs Guild, technically WotC now owns that. You get, it's one of the biggest third-party places to put out content, but they own it now and can do whatever they want with it. So that being said, That's probably one question a lot of people have is now, does Hit Point Press retain the rights to Humblewood, or is it now officially now owned by WotC? But again, let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'm also starting to think, because we just got the roadmap yesterday kind of showcasing what the long-term plan is for 2024, realizing that most of the new content we're getting from Wizards of the Coast isn't coming till sometime in May or much later in the year and then rolling into 2025. This might be what we see kind of early in the year to kind of tide us over, if you will, releasing third-party content on D&D Beyond. And also, again, from a building relationships, trust kind of situation, is showing that they're making good on promises they made last year, which was getting more third-party content onto D&D Beyond. Regardless of how you feel about D&D Beyond, whether you like it or not, it is a very popular character creation tool, and a lot of people use it. Now, I recognize that there are other virtual tabletops and things out there that utilize, character creators, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, things like that. But a lot of people prefer the ease of use of D&D Beyond, and getting more third-party content on there will make more people likely to use those options, especially when they're rolled out in the character creator, which is something, again, I've seen in my personal life. If it's not available on D&D Beyond, sometimes I know people that just don't want to play it because it's hard for them to use it. So unless you're really good at crafting stuff in the homebrew section of D&D Beyond, the chances of your player utilizing something definitely dwindles, which is what it shows here. Again, the various player options are now available. It is third-party content. They do have this disclaimer: consult with your DM about the materials found in this book, but they are rolled out within the character creator. So you do have these options now for you if you'd like to use them in D&D Beyond. That's, again, one of the toggles you can click to turn on or turn off in what you allow people to use in your campaign. But we obviously have Birdfolk, as mentioned. We can see a couple of different options here, 5 different options for Birdfolk. And then we have Humblefolk, which is, again, basically Deerfolk, Hedgehog, Mouse, Raccoon-like, and then, again, Fox-like creatures. So this could be, for a lot of people, funnily enough, even Humblewood doesn't give us dog races, but that's okay. Dog species, as it were. But that's okay. This does expand out more of the concept for the animalistic races. We obviously have a bunch of cat races in 5e and a bunch of bird races in 5e. This is giving you potentially more options. Again, review them yourself. Talk with your DM. They may or may not allow you to use them. Same thing with the subclasses, which we'll see here, right? We have the 4 different subclasses: College of the Road Bard, the Community and Night Domain Cleric, and the Scofflaw Fighter. And then, again, we have a couple of different backgrounds. Backgrounds are really neither here nor there, in my opinion. More backgrounds is not a problem. And then a handful of feats, which, again, depending on what your DM allows, may be good, may be allowed or not, right? We can see things like different aspects for gliding, the usage of wings, perfect landing, right? This feat reduces the size of the damage dice rolled when you take falling damage, prevents you from falling prone if you do damage when falling, and allows you to ignore some of the falling distance. And then, again, we have a handful of different spells here. Looks like they go up to 4th level, but we do even have a new cantrip, Gust Barrier. Using this evocation spell, a powerful wind surrounds you, imposing disadvantage on ranged attacks against you. Melee attackers must succeed on a con save or be pushed back or knocked prone. And then, again, we can see they also span a large variety of classes, which is nice, because usually we get a lot of Warlock, Sorcerer, Wizard spells, not a lot of spells that cover all the different classes out there, which is pretty nice to see. And again, there is a video kind of on D&D Beyond just talking through this. If you guys would like to see me cover this, like the third-party content, Humblewood, the Dungeon Dudes content as well, if you'd like to see me cover that, now that it's on D&D Beyond, let me know in the comments, and then we can add that to future coverage going forward. Let's talk about the Dragonlance live-action project, which is not moving forward, according to Joe Manganiello. This came out a couple days ago at this point. It says, Joe Manganiello has some bad news for D&D fans, especially those who love the epic fantasy series Dragonlance. Speaking with comicbook.com's Chris Killian in an exclusive interview, he confirmed that the proposed live-action Dragonlance project he'd been working on for years was not moving forward, despite the script receiving high praise from several Hollywood producers. Dragonlance is not a property Wizards of the Coast are interested in developing further currently, Manganiello said. Manganiello said that the planned project was not moving forward due to several issues, including Hasbro's sales of the Entertainment One studio, which we're going to talk about in the earnings report here, and the poor performance of the Dragonlance D&D adventure and board game in 2022 as reasons for why the project is not proceeding. Now, before we go on, let's take that with a grain of salt right there. They were trying to sell off Entertainment One. I think one of the last projects developed in Entertainment One, which was their sort of movie and TV studio, was the Dungeons and Dragons movie Honor Among Thieves. That was it says, if you watch the movie at the beginning, it says an E1 film, which is Entertainment One, which is their sort of TV film studio. They also said they cited the poor performance of the Dragonlance D&D adventure and board game in 2022. Yeah, you didn't market it. It had almost zero marketing. There were no tie-in adventures or anything like that. I don't even remember many D&D Beyond videos talking about the different options for it. It just kind of floated under the radar at the end of the year, and then we were hit with the OGL in January of 2023. So yeah, Dragonlance kind of went away from everybody's mind, but I don't feel like it got the real marketing push that some of the other things had. And then we even saw, as we rolled into things like Big V's this year, we were getting articles and videos with the creators talking about the different options, really hyping things up. And I don't think Dragonlance got almost any of that. So I feel like for a lot of people, they forgot that that book even came out, let alone that the board game came with it. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's part of it. There is the new book series from Hickman and Weiss that's part of the Dragonlance series. Remember, there was also that discourse a few years ago where they had hired them to make a bunch of books, and then there was the whole lawsuit litigation happening between them and Wizards of the Coast. That kind of got resolved, so I wonder if that kind of has anything to do with the Dragonlance, like not promote. I don't know. But let's keep going. In the interview, Manganiello spoke about the work he spent attempting to turn the Dragonlance novel series, which features a group of heroes fighting against the dark goddess of dragons and her forces of evil. Manganiello worked with a scriptwriting partner and consulted with novel writers Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss on the project. That's what you want. You want to do this. You want to talk to the people who made it. He said Tracy and Margaret were all about it. It was really me getting in there and fleshing out the world they built and a world they hinted at in some places but didn't shine the magnifying glass on. Manganiello also mentioned that he was inspired by HBO's treatment of True Blood, which was based off the Southern Vampire Mysteries novel series. What I had planned for the first season was mind-blowing. I just want to make the Dragonlance show because I want to see it, and I just want to feel that excited and electric about something. The characters, like the casting, I have a lookbook with over 1,000 pages, but it's not what you'd expect. The design concepts I had for the world, for the armor, for the swords, I had a fresh take on what the dragons were going to look like. It was going to be like nothing anyone had ever seen. And these beloved characters that have been read by, I think Tracy said there's 35 million copies in circulation. Manganiello said the script he prepared for a Dragonlance pilot was well received by those outside of Hasbro and E1. The biggest fantasy literary agent in town, he said, and these are his words and not mine, that it was the best fantasy pilot he had read since the original Game of Thrones, Manganiello said. There was another executive that read it and said it was one of the best fantasy scripts he's ever read. I actually got an email just this morning from a producer who said it was awesome and that he wanted to send it to the rest of his company and hopes I develop another fantasy IP. I didn't write a script that was terrible, Manganiello said. Calls were made to say, this is what you should be making, this is what you should be doing, but currently it is to no avail. Manganiello also mentioned that he even attempted to buy the rights to Dragonlance. I offered to buy Dragonlance, Manganiello said. I was talking to people with money just to get it and separate it so that I could get the option and take it out on the town. However, his efforts have currently reached a dead end, although he's optimistic that things could change. Maybe somewhere down the line, someone comes back or the company switches hands and somebody sees the value, Manganiello said. Very interesting concept to see him want to just buy the rights to Dragonlance outright from Hasbro and WotC, which is something a lot of us have said. People were thinking they wanted to see maybe if D&D could branch off of WotC or if WotC could separate from Hasbro. That's an interesting concept because I bet you to the same avail, if possible, Keith Baker would love to buy Eberron back. Just like if Joe could buy Dragonlance and then he could do what he wanted, he could work with Tracy and Margaret to do stuff like that. I think that would be a very cool concept if we saw like certain IPs get bought out. I don't know, maybe Ed Greenwood would want to buy the Forgotten Realms back. He seems pretty content himself at the moment, but I do feel like some people, there would be possible benefit of pulling out some of the campaign settings to have them become their own things. Let me turn on my headphones so you guys will be able to hear it. I just wanted to real quick talk about the Lego leaks, because one of you guys to send me an email from a brick clicker video, and very early on in the video is the Lego bits. So let's take a look right here.
Hello guys, Brick Clicker, and today we have more Lego leaks, so stay tuned to find out more. The video, why not like the video as well as subscribe and turn notifications, as we're so close to 60,000 subscribers. But let's get into it. So to kick things off, we have images at last of a long rumored and long awaited Lego Ideas set. This one looking absolutely incredible. If you haven't, you know the details, or it's set to be set number 21348. This one being the Dungeons and Dragons set. This one a collaboration with Lego and Hasbro, coming in with 3,745 pieces. So a ginormous set is going to come with an expensive price tag of $360 or 360 euros. If you're in the UK, this one is going to set you back around £320, and it's going to be launching on April 1st, 2024. So in about 6-7 weeks time, you'll be able to get your hands on this. And for me personally, when I first see this set, I can't help but be impressed what Lego have achieved with this one. They have made some major changes from the original submission, which I'll get onto in a moment. But if you start off the bottom, we can see lots of different minifigures will be included within the set, which is going to be great. I think there's going to be about 6 or 7 in total, which is a pretty good amount for a set of this size. Of course, people are always going to love castle-based minifigures. So there is going to be a small house on the left-hand side. Of course, if you have a fan of D&D, you're going to be seeing loads of different references. And then as we move up, there'll be the drawbridge going across it, and then there will be the giant dragon as top of the watchtower. This dragon is an incredible build. It kind of reminds me of something we'll see a mix between Lego Icons and also the Creative 3-in-1 theme. And then we are going to be getting loads of Dungeons and Dragon minifigures.
Owlbear right here.
Piece usage, like the video head we saw used in video in 2021, used for one of the characters in green for the first time. Even some of the Dreams animal pieces used, as you can see the characters under the bridge. And we'll also be getting a lot of classic characters from Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure if you're a fan of that, you're going to love this. If you're a fan of Castle, you're going to love this one. If we do take a look at the original submission, you can see Lego I've kept semi-faithful to that original submission, but also make some changes. The biggest one being the dragon now having a lot less detail on the face, and of course being in red, and the buildings and basically looking a bit brighter in the colour schemes you've chosen. So Lego made it more colourful, probably more appealing to Castle fans as well. And I'm sure this one is going to be popular. And what also...
So there is kind of some looks at what looks to be the leak. Again, $360 price tag is a lot. That's definitely going to be a turnoff for a lot of people. But if you look at branded kind of Lego sets, Lego is very expensive in general. So I'm not sure. I think I'm definitely going to get one, and we're definitely going to build it on stream. And it's only coming out in April. Now, the April 1st date does make me question whether that's real or not, because I have existed on the internet for a while, and anything that shows April 1st as a release date automatically makes me wary. But who knows? Could be getting that in just a couple weeks' time. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the, as of released today, the Hasbro fourth quarter and full year 2023 financial results. Now, let me come up front and say I am not a financial analyst. I don't know. I mean, I know general corporate jargon. I've done a lot of project management and stuff like that. So I have a general understanding. I do feel like a lot of this stuff was written in such a way. It's very like weasel word legalese in some ways. Like they'll say things are, you know, $1,932 million instead of just saying $1.9 billion. I don't know if that makes it seem better or worse, or if there's a reasoning behind that. I don't know, but that's a thing. So we'll read through it and kind of just speculate a bit on what we think it means for the future of Dungeons and Dragons. So, all right. Guided by our strategy of fewer, bigger, better, we had important wins across both toys and games while making progress in our transformation during a challenging 2023. Despite the macroeconomic backdrop, we are entering 2024 with a healthier balance sheet, a leaner cost structure, and a diverse portfolio of industry-leading toy and game brands that support our capacity to invest in the business and maintain our commitment to returning cash to shareholders via our category-leading dividend, said Chris Cox, Hasbro CEO. Our refreshed leadership team is bringing innovative and new products to our fans. At the same time, we are taking the necessary actions to transform Hasbro and deliver long-term profitable growth, starting with driving significant profit growth across our segments in 2024 and building momentum in our innovation pipeline between now and 2025. 2023 was a productive year for Hasbro, although not without some challenges, says Gina Goetter, Hasbro Chief Financial Officer. As we navigated the current environment, we took aggressive steps to optimize our inventory, reset the cost structure, and sharpen our portfolio focus on play with the E1 film and TV divestiture. Taken together, the actions throughout the year, the full year, have positioned the company for improved financial performance in 2024 and beyond. We are encouraged by our recent progress and remain laser-focused on execution to deliver our transformation objectives. So here's the highlights for 2023. Their revenue declined 15% as a whole, Hasbro as a whole, so consider that. Hasbro as a whole, revenue is down 15%, but there was growth in the Wizards of the Coast and gaming section by 10%, offset by declines in consumer products, 19%, and entertainment segment. Now, consumer products, my understanding, is like physical toys, action figures, board games, things like that. We have seen a general decrease just as a whole in the world of the purchase of physical toys. A lot of more focus is shifting more to digital games, screens, apps, things like that. There was a big boon in physical toys several years ago during the pandemic, so that makes sense that that was up. And then again, possibly if you were hoping or considering in your forecasting that that was going to continue, also makes sense that there's a drop. And the entertainment segment, now I don't know if this is directly due, I mean, it's probably due to the Entertainment One sale. We just learned that the Dragonlance live action series seemed like it had some funding possibly spent on it. That was cut. We know the D&D movie didn't get a lot of marketing, and it kind of showed up as a flop, even though everybody I've talked to loves the movie. And then also possibly selling it off might have led to some of that. But overall, revenue down, WotC up, other areas down, kind of leading to just the overall decrease of 15% revenue. Now, here's where it gets a little weird, right? Operating loss of $1,539 million. I don't know why you wouldn't just call that 1.5 billion, but then includes 1.3 billion of non-cash goodwill and intangible asset impairment charges associated with the E1 film and TV, a change in outlook for the balance of our owned and operated production efforts, and non-recurring inventory costs. Some of this is just going to be kind of legal jargon, so I'm going to try to skip through the stuff that, like, again, if you're a financial analyst out there and you'd like to come on and sit with me and go through this and explain it in layman's terms for everybody to understand, I would actually love that. So if you're out there and you fully understand all this and can make this make sense to the general public, please reach out to me, hit me up on social media, email me, nerdimmersion@gmail.com. Let's set up an interview. I'd love to do that. Adjusted operating profit of $477 million and adjusted operating margin of 9.5%. Reported net loss of $10.73 per share. That's a big reduction in, share costs on the stock market there for sure. Delivered approximately $220 million of gross saving in 2023. How much of that was loss of employees, we don't know, but that is a decent amount of savings. We also know, again, there's probably seemingly letting go of their physical location, although that looks like that was happening this year. Reduced inventory by 51%, including a 56% decline in consumer products. Again, this is their backlog of physical inventories, physical toys. They did, I didn't know this, completed the sale of Entertainment One and Film and TV to Lionsgate, so they sold that in December of 2023. So it looks like they are no longer in the TV and movie business. I think Entertainment One, I'm trying to think of what they've done as far as like TV and film. I think they did the My Little Pony movie a few years ago. I know they did the D&D movie. I don't know what they're tied into TV-wise. So I'm curious what that's going to mean with this being sold off to Lionsgate. Paid out dividends. Okay. Segment details, right? Revenue decrease of 19% by business exits, category trends, and inventory management. It looks like G.I. Joe and Transformers did well. Furby also apparently did well in its new relaunch this year. Here's Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming. Revenue increase of 10% driven by license in mostly, almost entirely, Baldur's Gate. Led to a lot of the 10% revenue. Also, Monopoly Go. I see ads for Monopoly Go. I didn't know it was actually that popular. Tabletop revenue increased 1% behind growth in Magic the Gathering. Basically, almost entirely because of the Middle-earth Lord of the Rings set. Operating profit declined 2% and operating profit margin of 36.1% due to the high royalty costs associated with Universes Beyond. Again, this is Universes Beyond is Hasbro's, or Magic the Gathering's kind of expansion into other properties, Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, Jurassic Park, all the other ones we're seeing where they're going out and getting crossovers with all of these other IPs, that is leading to a decrease in profit, which makes sense. You're spending a ton of money on licensing. Again, the entertainment segment, we talked about that. Decline of 31% driven by lower film and TV revenue. They're blaming it on the writers and actors strike. Yeah, I mean, that might have been part of it. I don't know how much they were involved in. Again, there's potential losses on the D&D movie as well. And then again, we have operating loss of $1,912 million compared to an operating profit of $23 million in 2022. Now, I can't say that I'm understanding this correctly, but if I read that, what this sounds like to me is they have they've lost $1.9 billion this year compared to a $23 million profit in 2022. Again, if I'm understanding that, and it says 2023 loss includes $1.8 billion of non-cash of goodwill and intangible assets impairment associated with the E1 film and TV business and within family brands to align with the change in entertainment strategy. Excuse me. So it does sound like they had a loss of $1.8 billion showing from 2022 to 2023. They lost all of that money, and they're saying it's because of a change in entertainment strategy, I guess. And then again, adjusted operating costs and operating profit due to the impact of industry strikes on content deliveries. All right, let's take a look at what the plans for the fourth quarter, for the fourth quarter of 2023. It says Q4 revenue declined 23% with Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment offsetting that. Operating loss of $1.1 million. And then again, here's the net loss of share, $7.64 per share. Going into 2024, consumer product segments, they're going to reduce physical toy products and profit margin. Going to lower the Wizards of the Coast segment, largely driven by second half comp in licensed gaming. So they're going to be spending a lot more on licensing. I think that's pretty much it. So there you go, folks. That's a little bit of D&D news. There might be more I missed. I think I did see something with Sirenscape in D&D, so more to come on that as well. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I'll see you all next time.